A Russian next-generation drone, Altius, crashed into a house in Kazan city during an experimental flight on Tuesday, causing fire, local media reported. Business Online quoted eyewitnesses as saying that the drone fell onto a private residential house owned by a pensioner in the outskirts of Kazan in Russia's Tararstan Republic. The house was empty during the time of the incident. It was later revealed that the drone belonged to a Russian manufacturer. The press service of the Ural Civil Aviation Plant confirmed that the crashed drone had been produced by the company. According to the press service, during the flight, unidentified external electronic warfare means disrupted the satellite navigation of the drone, causing it to switch to inertial navigation. The drone was supposed to land again, but an emergency situation occurred. Initially, Russian media reported the alleged crash of a light aircraft in Kazan, but later clarified that it was a UAV produced by the Ural Civil Aviation Plant. The drone was conducting a test flight during the time of the crash. Altius, also known as Altair, is a medium-altitude long-endurance unmanned combat aerial vehicle that is comparable to the striking and reconnaissance capabilities of the US-made MQ-9 Reaper and RQ-4 Global Hawk UAVs.
Recently, Ukraine said it struck a Russian airbase on Saturday, while Russia continued to pound Ukraine with hundreds of drones overnight as part of a stepped-up bombing campaign that has dashed hopes for a breakthrough in efforts to end the more than 3-year-old war. Ukraine's military general staff said that Ukrainian forces had struck the Borysoglebsk airbase in Russia's Voronezh region, describing it as the home base of Russia's Su-34, Su-35S and Su-30SM fighter jets. So, Kiev, that is carrying out special operations against Moscow week after week. The Security Service of Ukraine said the operation targeting the Kerch Bridge was planned over several months and used the equivalent of more than a metric ton of TNT. The SBU published video footage of the blast, likely signaling that they also had access to CCTV cameras on the bridge. The SBU conducted a new, unique special operation and struck the Crimean Bridge for the third time, this time underwater, wrote the intelligence services on their Telegram channel. Vasyl Malyuk, the head of the SBU, said the Kerch Bridge serves as a logistical artery to supply Moscow's invading army in Ukraine, according to the Kiev Post. The bridge, throughout the full-scale invasion, has been an important source for Russian logistics. Trains crossing the bridge reportedly carrying weapons, vehicles and fuel. After all, Crimea was one of the main launching points for Russia's attack in February 2022. Recently, Ukraine has carried out a devastating strike on the only bridge connecting Russia and the occupied province of Crimea, severing the vital supply line for President Vladimir Putin's forces, Ukraine's security service announced. We previously struck the Crimean Bridge twice, in 2022 and 2023, so today we continued this tradition, this time underwater, Malyuk said. The bridge, which serves both a practical and a symbolic role for Russia, is a completely legitimate target, since it is used by Russia as a logistical artery to supply its troops fighting in mainland Ukraine, Malyuk added. Built after Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea in 2014, the bridge was officially opened by Putin in 2018 at a cost of around $3.7 billion. John Sweet, a former US Army intelligence officer, said, "From Crimea, Russia can exert influence throughout the entirety of the Black Sea region. Retention of the peninsula, therefore, is essential. The Kerch Strait Bridge is the logistical lifeline between Russian forces occupying and defending Crimea and the Russian mainland. Moscow has significantly improved its defenses with underwater barriers and advanced air defense systems to protect the structure from Ukrainian strikes." Ukrainian Navy Commander Oleksiy Nizpapa noted that Russia built a multi-layered defense system, making it challenging for sea drones to get closer to the bridge. Ukraine can destroy the bridge with naval drones. Ukraine has been developing underwater drones since 2023, including the Toloka TLK-150, a compact, uncrewed vehicle that operates near the surface. However, it was rumored that the recent attack on the Crimean Bridge was carried out using Ukraine's underwater drone Marichka, which is a 6-meter-long, multi-purpose strike drone that can travel up to 1,000 kilometers. Now the final piece to Ukraine's puzzle may be the Taurus missiles, with previous chatter around that Kiev could soon receive them from Germany, the Kiev Post says. These long-range, bunker-busting cruise missiles are designed to penetrate hardened targets, making them ideal for striking reinforced infrastructure like the Kerch Bridge. Their precision and destructive power could allow Ukraine to deliver heavy enough damage to disable the bridge for a long time. Deputy Chairman of the Russian Security Council Dmitry Medvedev distinguished himself with yet another sharp anti-Western rhetoric. He took it out on NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte. The message was published on Medvedev's English-language account on the X platform. The reason for the latest outburst was Rutte's words, who admitted that Russia could attack the alliance on orders from Beijing. Medvedev responded with the usual stream of threats and insults. In particular, the Kremlin representative threatened that the Secretary-General would end up in a concentration camp in Siberia. Secretary-General Rutte seems to have eaten too many of the Netherlands' favorite magic mushrooms. He sees a Chinese-Russian conspiracy over Taiwan, and then a Russian attack on Europe. But he is right about one thing. He should learn Russian. It could come in handy in a Siberian camp, Medvedev wrote. This was said in English and posted on his English-language account, which emphasizes the targeted nature of the threat. It was addressed not to Russian society, but to the political West. It is noteworthy that this is not Medvedev's first attack in recent times. At the end of June, he already scared the world with the possible use of nuclear weapons, after which his words provoked a violent reaction, including from US President Donald Trump. He directly stated that such threats are unacceptable. After the shout from Washington, Medvedev rushed to justify himself, saying that he had been misunderstood and that he had meant something completely different. This abrupt retreat suggests that even the rhetoric of the Kremlin's hawks has its limits, especially when Washington responds to them. It is obvious that Medvedev's harsh statements are intended to frighten, blackmail, and sow uncertainty. However, Rutte seems to have decided to ignore the words of the Kremlin representative, who has no influence on anything and is only capable of spewing insults online. Earlier, Medvedev lost his temper after the defeat of Russian aviation, revealing the Kremlin's plans. Medvedev essentially revealed Moscow's true goals on Telegram, stating that the talks in Istanbul are not needed for a compromised peace on unrealistic conditions invented by someone, but for a speedy victory and the complete destruction of the neo-Nazi government. These words were a direct admission that the negotiations were nothing more than a smokescreen. Against the backdrop of huge losses in aviation and unsuccessful rounds in Istanbul, the Russian leadership seemed to have decided to play for broke at the cost of the final collapse of its international reputation.